Introduce you to the dynamic duo, the
Yes.
live team here of 405 Insurance, Alea and Jason Woods.
Hi
Good
guys.
morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are y'all doing this morning?
We're great.
Great. Thanks for having us.
You bet.
Awesome.
So, yeah, you heard us. We just now finally getting our coffee. What about
Right.
you? Have you been up for a while?
Oh
Several
yeah,
hours.
we've been up for a while.
Okay, good. So they're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, they're ready because we're gonna throw some good questions at you
Yes.
this morning.
Yep.
We're gonna ease into the first one. So first off, of course, tell us who you are, about your company, a little bit about what you do.
Yeah.
Okay, hi guys. My name's Alea Woods, and this is my husband Jason. Started this insurance agency probably about 5 years ago. We were both born and raised in Norman, and well, actually Oklahoma City. Um, but we wanted to have different options besides just one carrier. So that's why we decided to branch out and go into the independent market, which is what we do now with 405 Insurance,
Hmm.
and be able to give our clients the opportunity to shop around should insurance rates go up. And they do tend to go up.
Right. Absolutely, they do. So, how are you able to offer better rates versus a bigger company, like let's just say the big three out there?
Well, first of all, the rates are cyclical. They're very volatile. So, by not that we have a better rate, we just have more options for people. So,
Oh,
you
And
know,
some of these carriers that we represent are just as big, if not bigger, than the big three that are just the main ones that we know about.
Okay.
They're obviously very prominent in Oklahoma,
right.
but we represent quite a few carriers that are just as large.
So
Okay.
off the top of your head, because you're right, when I turn on the TV at any point
Hmm.
in time, I see a commercial either that's just in my face pretty much
Right.
every day from either Allstate, State Farm, or Farmers. That's what I'm thinking of the big three. But you're
Right.
saying about
hmm
roughly how many maybe big carriers are there, and then maybe just how many in general. I mean, we talking dozens? Are we talking 50? I mean, how many are out there?
10 or 12 personal lines carriers that, that offer
Hmm. Okay.
replacement cost policies. And keep in mind, I know we're talking about Allstate. Allstate is one of our carriers. Okay,
Okay.
That
so
we represent.
we put quite a bit of business with them, but that's why you can't ever really say Allstate's not competitive. Travelers isn't competitive. It all depends on the scenario. So we may quote a household where we've got, say, a $2,000 home rate, and another carrier is 6,000. Okay, so the next person we quote that $6,000 price point, all of a sudden they're the best on the next one. So that's just kind of how it goes.
Okay, so then
Okay.
that's okay. So now you're really hitting home
Mm-hmm.
as to you really need to have a basket of options just
Right.
because of this variability that you're talking about, which is built into the system. And
Hmm.
we're going to get into kind of what maybe
Right.
causes that here in a second.
Right.
So is this kind of the main benefit for the consumer then when going with an independent agency?
Yes, they all go
Yes.
up. Okay, so when they go up, your captive or exclusive agents they have no options, and so if that happens over here, we've got 10 or 12 other options we can look at. So like this year, Allstate and Safeco are the largest increases, but next year
It could be
it could be
two
just the
others.
opposite.
Ah, okay.
Okay, that's good.
So, what exactly is driving the premiums in today's market?
Well, what's driving the rates? It's kind of a double whammy effect this year. They're always volatile, but this this year and then obviously last year and stuff, we've got used car prices up 40%. We've got construction costs. Obviously, you guys are very aware of that, and so
Hmm.
insurance companies are paying those increases in your used car prices. Say you get in an accident and your rate's based on something 35% less. Same thing on the homes. A new home pre-COVID was roughly 140 to 150 a foot, and now you're $200 plus a foot for your just standard spec home.
Okay. Sure, that makes sense. Now, we have a question from Michelle Heaton Aspinadnik.
Yeah. So
And what she's asking is, does zip code affect policy prices, say rural versus city locations?
Yes, very much so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Um, it's really based off of saturation too, and where a carrier, you know, some zip codes they might be highly saturated, so they're going to increase rate in that zip code to kind of try to dwindle that down.
Okay.
So it is very zip code driven, very credit driven, and every scenario is different. So, I always hear, oh well, my next door neighbor, I got to save what $2,000 on my premium. Well, the next door neighbor doesn't have a 17-year-old youthful driver and a new roof and whatever. So there's so
Right.
many different variables and factors that go into rating your insurance, and there's
Right.
no two families or scenarios that are alike.
So does that tie in then even with an age of a house if someone's looking at an older home versus a newer home? Or what are some pros and
Yes.
cons for insurance in that regard?
Well, all insurance carriers like new construction. They
Okay.
absolutely love new roofs. So if you've just had a roof put on in the last couple of years, that is going to reduce your premium. The
Okay.
older the roof, um, it will increase as it ages. And then you get into a factor of whether or not the roof is going to be replacement cost or if it's going to be an actual cash value roof. And some carriers will offer replacement up to 10 years. Your standard carriers will do that. There are some that offer it up to 15. We've got a couple that offer up to 25 years replacement. So
Okay.
every carrier is going to be different. And we take that into consideration whenever we're quoting people. If we know you have an older roof, then we're not going to go put you with a carrier that replacement is only at 10 years. We're going to try to extend the life of that roof for you, um, so that you can get the most bang for your buck.
Ah, now
That's
that is
nice.
where you guys really kind of earn your money because you're saving the money by keeping those variables in mind. And
Yes.
for those that don't understand the process, because some of these are probably going to be, you guys are going to be new homeowners, you're about to buy a home, or you just moved in, you have no clue what any of this roof talk means. When you're talking about cash value or prorated or full, what are the options that you do need to be aware of? And then is it more common now to not actually get your roof completely paid? Is that a thing of the past or is that still out there?
It's very much still out there. I mean, usually they'll measure each individual slope of the roof individually. But that's very rare most of the time. It's either going to be a total loss or not.
It's very rare that you're going to have a partial loss on a roof,
Okay.
in a windstorm or a hailstorm.
And what we always suggest is always get a contractor or a roofer out there that you know and trust before we turn in a claim. And it's not because the claims affect us in any way. It's just you do not want those claims on your record because most carriers will count claims frequency against you, regardless if there's nothing paid out. That claim's on your record.
Okay, that was one of the questions that I
Right.
had that we had heard. If you do call your insurance company, just start asking some questions. Go, hey, I got hit by a hailstorm. I think I might have some damage, but I'm probably not going to file a claim. I'm going to wait till the next one. Tell us why that's a bad idea.
So don't call your carrier. That's why you have agents. Your agents are there to help advise and guide. And like Jason said, we don't get paid or suffer in any way if there's a claim made or not. What we're doing is just making sure that our client is taken care of. And
Okay.
so we always tell people, hey, if you think you need to make a claim, unless it's a total loss, if something happens and it's a total loss, call the carrier by all means. But you're we just like to encourage people to call us and we can help them and guide them in that claims process. We can turn in the claim for them. And then, if they don't have anyone in mind to use, then we'll help, facilitate with the carriers, who to deploy out as far as, replacing roofs and um, any other losses that need to be
Right.
tended to.
So then that would be the same if you're driving and all of a sudden your car. Big thing right now is windshields being hit with hail. If you're caught in a storm. So what happens in that case?
Absolutely.
What happens if I call you and say, "Hey, windshield got hit, or do I just take it and go get it fixed myself? Like, does that affect your car premium if someone?
Usually not on the glass claim.
I mean, the glass claims
Okay.
are kind of different. And I'm assuming that if you have hail damage on your glass, you're probably going to have hail damage on the auto body itself as well.
Right.
So,
Typically.
like, I just got a rock in my windshield, and it's kind of one of those things you're like, dang, I hate that. But
Right.
that's why you try to have glass coverage, is to be able to just call and make a claim. And those claims don't really affect you like basically a collision claim. A collision claim is going to follow you around if it's your fault.
Sure.
But a glass claim is not going to weigh like a your fault collision claim would.
Okay.
But not all.
About half of our
not all.
carriers offer glass.
Yeah,
And not
that's what I
all
was
of our
gonna say.
carriers offer
Okay.
glass coverage. So
Okay.
it would be subject to the deductible, and or some carriers have what they call a dollar bill rule. So if the crack is less than a dollar bill length or width, down or this way, then they will cover it. We'll just tell you, hey, you want to go to XYZ to have it
Oh.
patched, I guess, or fixed. If it's over a dollar bill length with some carriers, then they will just say, hey, it's subject to your deductible.
Okay. So definitely,
Oh, that's good to
when they
know.
call you, ask those type of questions. You can guide them as to which
Right.
auto policy is going to be that
Yeah.
particular.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. So we're kind of bouncing around on some of these
Yeah.
ideas as we kind of just go from one question to another. Since you did ask about the claim process, what is the best claim process? You can maybe touch on auto versus home. I know in the old days you would call the police, have them come out a report. Is all that stuff still necessary if it's either, a non-injury situation, or maybe even if you think it's non-injury, but it turns out maybe it ended up being, or somebody claimed it was going to be? Does the carriers and you guys, do you want to have that with you as well when that claim is made?
Absolutely. The reason I say that is you get into an accident, it's clearly, let's say, not your fault. The other party says, oh, I apologize, I'm so sorry. Well, between then and both parties getting home, all of a sudden,
Their tune
they
changes.
decide they're not at fault. And so a lot of times the police incident report will clearly state who's at fault. And that's the primary reason, because if it becomes that, then all of a sudden now you've got to put it against your insurance. And then worst case, you're paying your deductible. Where if it's the other party's fault, there's no deductible incurred.
And it would be on their insurance, a claim on their insurance.
And is uninsured motorist, is that increasing or decreasing as far as the number of people driving around without insurance that you need to make sure that you're covered for?
Right. Good question.
It's pretty steady. I mean,
Okay.
from the reports that we read, 1 in 4 people are still driving around
1 in 5, 1 in 4.
without insurance. So, Oklahoma has taken a lot of steps to mitigate that by, I'm sure a lot of people have seen these. You get a letter in the mail, hey, we noticed that you didn't have insurance. And what they do is they'll take the cameras. And I know when you're going through the turnpikes,
even intersections, those cameras up there take the picture.
they'll take a picture of your VIN and it'll run through the state system, and you will get a letter that says, hey, we noticed you don't have insurance. Now, those are common. We see them a lot. And if you do have insurance, just call your agent and they'll get it fixed for you. But, they did that to try to mitigate the 1 in 4, 1 in 5 without insurance. And
that's good.
I
I
don't
wonder
know
what those
that it
cameras
is-
are for.
Yeah.
They're always like flashing, taking your pictures. I'm driving under. I'm like, what, am I busted? Am I getting caught? What am I?
Was I speeding?
Yeah, was that speed? What was happening there? Okay, so hey, a little different shift there. Let's go to home claims, and I know we normally focus on the roof, but there's also insurance on other parts of the home that you have. So is the claim process any different? Still reach out to you first, kind of tell what's happening before it goes to that next step, or what?
We recommend that. Again, if it's a serious accident, serious claim, call the insurance company direct if you like. But if it's something, you want to discuss first how that process works. One thing we run into is if it's the other party's fault, people want to jump on it, get it turned in. Well, I would rather turn it in under the other party's insurance if, in fact, it's their fault. And then that way, on our client's insurance, that claim never existed. Okay. And
okay.
then if they have to cover the insurance, you're going to pay your deductible, and then they will subrogate against the other party. But it may be 6 months, maybe a year before you would recoup that deductible from the other party.
All right, so we kind of barely heard you. So he was basically saying 6 months to a year to recoup the cost. I think your earbuds or whatever may be dying on your battery, so your audio was fading out there for a minute. Aaliyah's super loud, so you're kind of fading some. So if that happens again, I'll let you know. But yeah, so the other thing was, since we're talking about this last question kind of related to home insurance, is there's a lot of, litigious society type suits when people get injured. If someone were to slip and fall in your driveway because they wanted to come and pay you a visit, or maybe they're soliciting, even though you have a sticker on your door that says, do not solicit here, and they want to do it anyway, and they slip and fall on your porch and they blame you, and they want to file a claim. So, how does this process work with home insurance?
Well, that's what your personal liability is for on your home insurance. It can be somebody just walking across the sidewalk. It can be a guest that you actually have over. Your dog bites
They scratch. Your dog scratches them. We've had a few, just even minor. Just, your dog jumped up on me and scratched me, but it's caused them to bleed or have to go get their hand looked at. Or,
right.
But that's why you have insurance, and all of the policies that I know of that we sell have the liability portion, basically what we call baked in to the policy, and those numbers can differ. So you can have $100,000 liability all the way up to 500, and then in some cases, if you have an umbrella, it can go up to $1 million, $2 million. But you have it in your policy for those specific reasons.
Okay. So, does credit affect insurance rates at all?
drastically.
Credit is one of the biggest factors in insurance.
It's different than what you think of credit. Your FICO score, 700, 800 credit score. It's similar to that, but there's a lot of other factors that insurance carriers take into consideration that a bank does not, or a mortgage company will not on a loan. So, just extreme examples: the person that has no debt, but they've got, let's say, 3, 4, 5 credit cards out there with $15,000 or $20,000 available credit. Insurance companies do not like that. You've got too much available credit. You have no debt and you pay all your bills. That's just one example. So, and there's others. I mean, a person that maybe grew up with a depression, they don't use credit. They've never used credit. You know, they pay their bills as well, but you're not using your credit. So it's just, we can't even, all those are proprietary formulas. Every carrier uses it. It's just the extent to which they use it.
And we don't have that. Like, we'll never see a credit score. So we never get, oh, hey, this credit score is 750. We just get what they call an insurance rating risk number. And like he said, each carrier is different in how they rate that. But credit is probably one of the biggest driving factors, alongside claims frequency, and then at fault accidents or tickets. Those are very large driving factors. And oddly enough, your auto, like when you drive, will affect your home premium. So if you have tickets and accidents that are your fault on the auto side, it does affect your home premium as well. And a lot of people don't know that.
No, I've never heard that.
I never knew that.
Whoa. Okay.
Interesting.
Oops.
That is a fun fact that a lot of people do not know, but yes.
Okay, so let's tie this into this then. We're talking about stuff that can cost you money, which is what you just bad credit and or accidents overall. How can you, when you're going and looking for policies, how can you save the most money? So, for example, let's say oh, I've got an insurance agent. He's got me a homeowner's place over there. I got another person that's got my auto over here, and I've got something over here. How is this a bundle issue? Kind of like where the cable company will bundle everything for you to quote save you some money. Is the insurance company the same way?
Yes, absolutely. Now, what we always tell people though is that over the last few years, we're running into more scenarios to where we don't bundle. Maybe be it the carrier we have you with on the home does not have an auto product, or the home is so competitive with one carrier as is the auto with another. Even though you're losing discounts, when you add up the numbers, you're still
coming out ahead.
Net savings.
Ah, okay.
And there's different scenarios in which, I mean, bundling is always a great approach, but we always just tell people, hey, you're bundled within the agency. If you keep it within the agency, then obviously we have a good idea of what we've got going on. But there are instances where it makes sense to split them up.
Okay.
The biggest way to save on auto and home both, but more so auto, is how you pay. For example, if you pay in full versus, say, even monthly bank draft, it can be as much as 20% less based on how you pay. And so I know it's tough for people to come up with that kind of money every 6 months, but that's just one of the best ways is pay.
And trust us, we know. We have a 17-year-old driver. So now he just turned 18. So we're feeling the pinch just like everyone else.
Wait a minute, you guys aren't immune? I thought you guys, since you're in the insurance agency, you get everything for free.
No, we do not.
One of the biggest myths.
That is a very large myth. We do not get a discount, and it is not free. We are not immune, especially on youthful drivers. That is a big wake up call when you see that first bill. That's for sure.
I bet. Okay, so why does an insurance agent need to ask what you're paying on an existing home or auto premium?
Well, several reasons. I mean, that's one of the biggest myths as well, is like, oh, if you tell me what you're paying, I'll come in just under that.
Right.
We do not have flexibility on rate. I wish we could, but we would be, yes, it'd be so fantastic.
Bottom line is the price gives us a gauge of what coverage they have on their home. And then, quite frankly, if you have a great rate, we're going to say, I got to be honest, we're not going to be able to help you. Let's revisit it next year.
And we have turned people away. We have said, hey, listen, you've got a great thing going, and stick to it. More times than not, we are seeing people that maybe have a decent rate, but their deductibles on their homeowners is really high, and they don't know it. They think that because they have a 2% wind and hail deductible, that it's going to be 2% of the claims price.
Okay.
And that is not the case. And so that is one of the things that I think Jason and I talked about is, something that we wanted to drive home. The wind and hail deductible has nothing to do with the claim itself. It's just what is going to pay out on the claim.
Or your home coverage. So 300,000, 1% 3,000, 2% 6,000.
And that's going to be your deductible that you will pay before insurance pays.
Okay, and then I wanted to tie what you just said into, because we've already had a solar roofing company that we talked about solar panels and how the price of those panels can be replaceable by adding on to your insurance policy or covered already in your pre-existing coverage for homeowners insurance. If it's like a Tesla solar powered panel, which is different, it actually replaces the roofing structure tile and it becomes the roof. I know that's a lot different and may be more expensive, and if you're trying to pay a 1% deductible, that might not work out. So I think maybe it varies. So can you explain just the solar panel process when it comes to the roofing?
Usually we get the value of the solar panels, and then we add that to the coverage on the home. So say the house is $300,000 replacement. Solar panels are, say, $50,000. Well, we add that to the dwelling coverage. Now, I will say that not all carriers are fond of solar panels. So, if you are getting the solar panels, you definitely want to take a look with your current carrier
Make sure they don't exclude wind and hail. Obviously, if it's going to be your roof or is attached to your roof, then be sure that they do not exclude the wind and hail on that particular piece, because that would be very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
And
Very
think
unfortunate.
At that point, you have the solar panel companies themselves that offer insurance just for that particular thing.
And every carrier is going to be different. I do know we have a few carriers that will cover solar panels, and then I know there are a few of our carriers that do not. So that is one of the great things about having an independent agent, is we will be able to shop that and figure it out for you.
Oh, good.
I'm starting to realize more and more your value in this business. It's the knowledge base, right? Because you know all the ins and outs, the quirks.
Absolutely.
That are going to be specialized for each individual case, which is going to save you a lot of money and or actually get you the coverage that you need versus the coverage that you thought you had.
Right.
Right.
Good point. Good point. So for homeowners insurance, how do you value the home? Do you do drive-bys? Do you make appointments? Do you go in? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Go ahead.
All carriers have a reconstruction cost estimator.
Okay.
Most carriers use one of two or three systems. So it pulls in all of your data from county assessor, courthouse records, year build, square footage, 2-car, 3-car garage. Obviously, we can tweak it as far as adding coverage, but you can usually never go below what that carrier says is 100% replacement. As far as a drive-by, there's not a drive-by to get that cost. There's usually an exterior inspection after the insurance is bound. The insurance company goes out, sends out a third party to, hey, the house has good condition, pride of ownership, there's not trees, rubbing the house, those kinds of things.
And we usually go out and inspect. We will go drive by each house and just make sure that we think it would pass should it be picked for an inspection.
Especially if it's like a house that there's no record, there's nothing on Zillow, there's nothing on.
Like if it was a private sale and it's
okay.
Gotta figure out if that's it.
Your inspections on the larger homes, there are interior inspections, usually on homes over 750,000, and that will be the insurance carrier will contact you and say, hey, what's a great day? And we will tell you that. If we know your home is a higher value home, we are going to prepare you and tell you, hey, they are going to have and want to do an interior inspection. If you can make yourself available for a few days out of the week sometime where they can come in. And it's very I say it's non-invasive. I mean, clearly they're coming into your home, but they're not going to come in and be there for hours on end. They're going to come in and just look around and make sure that what we have or what the county assessor has in their systems basically add up. Like if you have Italian marble, but we didn't rate it that way, then they are going to want to make sure that you are covered the way that it's been in the system.
Good.
All right, and then we've got Michelle's hot on fire on the questions. She's throwing in some
Michelle.
good ones. Yeah, so we're gonna get her next question here. One more second. I'm gonna ask one more question before we do that. And in the world of insurance, is there anything that's becoming more commonplace that is becoming an exclusion? In other words, something that insurance companies used to cover, and for whatever reason they're deciding no longer to do it because it's too expensive, or anything that's kind of something to watch for.
Flood, earthquake, settling, cracking of the foundation has never been covered on a policy. What's one thing that's changed? Maybe what we call marring, which is basically denting to your metal surfaces on your roof. It could be the valleys, it could be your vent caps, your guttering. If you don't endorse on or have that marring coverage endorsed on, it's not covered.
Another thing would be building ordinance or building codes, where that now will help replace decking when it comes to the roofing system. Years ago, it used to be all just kind of encompassed in. Now you have to have that building codes endorsed onto your policy in order to have that decking coverage should you have massive hail damage that goes through your roof and through the decking itself.
Oh, okay.
Okay, wait a minute. So now I'm kind of getting a
So
little
if you don't
confused.
have ordinance, it used to be traditional plywood. Now, city code, you have to have OSB decking, which is a fancy plywood, is basically what it is.
Right.
But if you don't have that on your standard, say, 1,600 square foot house, that would be $4,000 to $5,000 out of your pocket. So that's one of the things that, if you're looking at home, everybody knows, hey, do I have a replacement cost? Do I have a replacement on the roof? But outside of that, there's, two or three things you want to look at. Building ordinance is one of the most important ones. Buying that, a lot of carriers are very obvious, not included. And then those deductibles. 2%, I'd say you're fine. Maybe that I've seen crazy stuff. 3%,
5%.
with the hail. So take that $300,000 home again. If you're at a 5,000 or a 5% with the hail, that's a $15,000 deductible. You're basically self-insuring on the roof. Hence why it's going to be way less. And so usually that's what we run into with clients is they're not aware of those deductibles and they don't realize we don't have ordinance.
Or they don't have the building ordinance, or they don't have the map. Right, Murray.
Okay.
And that's because agents will strip down the policy to try to get more competitive.
And
Okay,
really, you don't want it just to be about money.
Right.
If you, and we've been in this business long enough, we've seen plenty to know that it's not just the price anymore. It's really what do you have, and am I covered? Especially like us with a youthful driver, that is something so important to us, is making sure that, hey, if you have a youthful driver, you need to have these coverages.
Right.
And so that's
A big law change on auto with regard to permissible drivers. Everybody says, you don't have to include your child, your 16-year-old, on your insurance. If they're a permissible driver, they're fully covered. Well, those laws are changing with these carriers. It's already happened with, I think, 3 or 4 of them, and the others will follow suit. So what that means is the permissible driver states if anyone borrows your car, drives your car, that you gave permission, it's covered. But the problem is now, if that person resides in the household and has been licensed for more than 90 days, that permissible driver clause
does not pertain to that driver anymore.
So your 16-year-old daughter is driving her car, a car in the household, $40,000 car. That full coverage will not pay.
Wow.
So,
I did not know
unfortunately,
that.
there's a lot of agents out there that have intentionally left off those youthful drivers, and so now those are claims that will not be covered.
Okay.
All right, so I couldn't hear him very well. So did you hear him better?
Yeah.
No. Alea, do me a favor, because his microphone's really bad, and so I know people at home are like, what? So real quick recap, because in case they couldn't hear, because I couldn't hear, so I was like some confused in some of the terms. So just my understanding, if quickly on the hail, usually when it hits the roof, it also hits the rest of the home, including the siding. And it's my understanding from what I could make out was if you don't have your building structure up to code, that will not be covered in your out of pocket. But if it is up to code, using the proper.
If you don't have building codes.
So if you don't have building codes coverage endorsed onto your policy,
Okay.
that is what he was talking about. A lot.
Okay.
Whenever you're asking what things have changed, used to, that would be kind of all in the same encompassing as the roof. But now building codes is an endorsement that we put on to make sure that it encompasses the decking or any codes that the city puts out there.
Okay. So those are things that you wouldn't think to ask when you're calling for a policy. You're just thinking roof and then whatever. So you're not actually thinking about all these building codes or anything like that. Okay.
That's right.
So that's a good point. Just to rattle off those copy questions to your agent. Okay, and then real quick, again, I couldn't hear half what he said, but on the child in the house who's 16, going to drive, to put them on the policy or not, and you're saying that the state law is requiring, yes, you need to put them on the policy. You can't get away with it.
If they've been driving for more than 90 days.
Okay, if it's more than 90 days.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes,
Right.
and most insurance companies won't add the minor because they want to save the policy holders money.
Well, there are some agents that will not add the minor, have not, but those days are going to be long gone. The insurance carrier will find out. They will add them to the policy, and then that's when you're getting a big, oh man, my premium just doubled. What happened?
Right.
Oh,
Right.
well, we found the youthful driver that's been in your household that we did not know about. So, you know,
Okay.
these are all questions that are going to come from any agent.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and, you know, I just say be truthful. Tell them, hey, yes, I have a youthful driver. As much
Right.
as that hurts your pocketbook, it is good to know. And they'll
Okay.
find it at some point anyway, so.
Sure.
Excellent. All right, so Michelle has been very vocal
Very-
today,
and
which
very
is awesome.
patient.
Yeah, we like,
Yeah.
and patient, so appreciate you. All right, so she's asked a ton of questions. We'll get to the one which is kind of important because I know we're kind of getting close to the end of the interview, so let's
Right.
make sure we get this one in there. And she kind of hit the nail on the head, which is basically, how do you know if you have an insurance company that's a reputable one? Like, what's the process there
Right.
whenever you're shopping around? And in this case, she's even mentioning about out of state. How dependable are out-of-state companies versus an in-state?
I can do that.
Well, they're all going to be or out-of-state carriers, first of all. But the first thing you want to do is go to look at their financial rating with AM Best. You usually want a carrier with an A rating or better.
Okay.
Anything B, B minus, absolutely not. And what that is just a carrier's wherewithal to be able to pay the claims.
Okay.
Okay.
So so when they're shopping around for a local company, like you guys are obviously local.
That's right.
And is there any benefit to keeping everything local, even at that level, even though the carriers themselves may be national, based out of wherever, New York or something else? Is there anything to watch out for when you're just looking in general for a local insurance company, or maybe someone who's also doing what you guys do, but they're in a different state? Is there an issue where maybe they don't know Oklahoma statute? Does that come up? I mean, is there some type of local factor that is important in insurance coverage?
I think so. We're basically just an extension of the carrier that we represent. And so it's always good to have somebody local. Obviously, we know the area. We know you guys, we know the weather.
Right.
Just things that a lot of other out-of-state people likely don't know about Oklahoma. So I do believe, regardless of who you go with, a local agent is your best bet and best option, just based off of what the knowledge that they already know about the state and the area.
Right.
I think you want to have an
Absolutely.
agent regardless.
You definitely want to have an agent, regardless. You don't just want to call a company direct
Right.
and say, "Hey, I want insurance." That is something, regardless of who you go with, that is important. Your agent is there for you, but also they know the ins and outs of Oklahoma
Right.
and the ins and outs of their policies that they offer. So they can just better tailor that to you.
And I think a lot of people like having a local.
Oh yeah,
Advisor.
when in doubt, always go local, just because you're
Absolutely.
supporting a local community.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
for the economy and all that stuff stays here. It's friends, family, people that are all trying to do business and help each other out. Rather than
Right.
going to somebody that's never going to see your face, never really know your name, you're just a number
Yeah.
somewhere else in some
Exactly.
other state.
Right,
It's
and
just-
if you have a total loss, these people aren't going to fly in from New York and come and help pick
Right.
up your house after the tornado just blew it down. They're not.
Right.
They're not going to do that. So
Right.
I would envision that any agent that is here and local would be willing to come and help and just really dig in and try to just be a good neighbor, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll do one more question. I know Michelle had like a ton of them, but Michelle, like we did find out that the solar companies, when they do occasionally, because we have some really huge hail here in Oklahoma, right? So occasionally we'll get some of those really huge hailstones on the solar panels, and the solar company will replace them, and also your homeowner's insurance can also replace them. But from what they've said, they have never had one that broke. The solar power of Oklahoma had to deal with. So they hold up very, very well. And I was surprised at that because I thought they'd get trashed too. But if, for whatever reason, something were to happen, you get a grapefruit-sized hailstone that can go through your roof. If it can go through your roof, obviously it's probably going to damage a solar panel. They can just replace that one little panel. The rest of it's fine. Another question she had real quick before we let you guys go this morning was, and this is what I always thought, is once you file a roofing claim, from that point forward, your cost of your premiums go up. Is that true?
Well, it depends on the circumstance. If it is a total loss or catastrophic loss, like what we had, we'll say April 19th, where there was wind and hail and tornadoes, that would be deemed a catastrophic loss within the carriers. Most carriers have deemed that a catastrophic loss. So that is not going to affect you when you make a claim as it would if, say, you had a fire. That was just your own fire that started in the kitchen. So what we call cat losses are not going to affect you like one would think or say. That is a totally different scenario.
Okay.
That's good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's a myth.
I know. No, trust me, it's a myth of the office. Like as soon as you file a claim, there goes that policy.
Yeah.
Or, okay, I'll tell you this. I'm going to flip it on you because maybe they don't raise your premiums, okay? But in Oklahoma, you could have back-to-back hailstorms 3 years in a row, and now you got to get a new roof 3 years in a row. I did have a coworker have their carrier drop them because of too many claims. So that's what he was told or he understood. Now, is that correct? And has that happened?
Well, again, every scenario is different, but yes, this has happened actually in Norman just a few years ago. And most of my family live in Norman, and we have had that same scenario just within my parents' house, my sisters, where unfortunately, yes, they had just put on a brand new roof, and 6 months later, here comes the next hailstorm. And those hailstones were huge. Went through the decking, and bless their hearts, I feel like it's such a pain to have to go through all of that again, but they did. And so, if you are not making a lot of claims, if those are your only 2 claims in the last 5 years, I don't really see that a carrier is going to, say, hey, we're not going to insure you anymore. But if you have other claims that go along with that, then yes, that's going to kind of go towards the frequency of a claim. A lot of carriers will say, hey, we'll take 2 cat losses in a 3-year period, or we'll take one kind of loss here and another kind of loss there within a 3 or 5-year period. Every carrier is going to be different. But I have not yet had anyone that has been canceled that I can think of to you, just based off of the Norman storm that we know of that happened last year, the year before last.
And kind of tied into that, this will be my last question. We've got one more from Amy we'll get to, and then we'll wrap it up, and this is what I keep hearing, and of course I keep hearing this every year, so I don't know if it's always something that perpetuates, but are there actually less insurance companies in Oklahoma to choose from because of our repetitive severe weather that we have here?
Yes, absolutely.
I think so. There are a lot of carriers out there that don't want to do business here. Just like there's a lot of carriers that don't want to do business in Texas because it's coastal. There's a lot of carriers that don't want to do business in Louisiana or Florida. So every carrier, and I think this is just true of any insurance, every carrier has a tolerance or a risk tolerance for what they plan for, if you will. If they come into this market, they know that there are going to be claims. There are going to be hail claims. There are going to be wind claims. So I think every carrier that's here purposefully, I would like to think that they've all done plenty of their research to realize, no, that this is just kind of a quirky market, especially from May to whenever, even October, or then after that, freezing. So I think I think carriers are very picky and choosy about coming into the state. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Our final question of the day,
Yes.
Amy. She wants to know, is it better to have a youthful driver and a parent on a separate policy than the rest of the vehicles? Or is a youthful driver only affecting the price of their vehicle on a multi-car policy?
So those, I wouldn't say laws, but within the carrier, those things have changed. Used to, you would assign a youthful driver to a certain vehicle, and they would be rated on that one vehicle. That does not exist anymore. Every youthful driver in a household will be rated on mom and dad's Corvette or their.
They'll have an impact on all the vehicles in the household.
They are
Wow.
going to affect rates for everyone in that household. It is not to your advantage to split them out of the household because, just like Jason was saying earlier, if you live under the same roof, then you have to have them insured on the same policies as you and your spouse or whoever. So splitting them out is not a good idea.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you for answering.
Yeah, and Amy, again, thank you for your question.
And Michelle,
thank you. Wish we could to all of your questions, Michelle. I tell you what, honestly,
Right.
Michelle and Amy, anyone else, if you have multiple questions like that,
Yes. Reach out.
reach out. Leah and
See
Jason
you.
are right there for you, and
Please
they
call,
can answer.
yes.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
specific
absolutely.
details, like they mentioned. Everybody's case is going to be different, different variables to work with, and that's why they're there, right? To
Yes.
help you out, guide you, to save you money, make sure you get the best policy that's suited for you, because what's suited for you may be different than what's suited for your neighbor. And in the case that Amy just brought up, or what's suited in your household,
Right.
when it comes to having the
Absolutely.
kids, that can affect.
That's right.
That can affect everybody's record. Well, that's a dangerous
Yeah.
thought there.
right.
But yeah, so hey, this has been great.
Thank you.
We had far more questions than we had time. We could probably go this
Yeah.
another hour. There's unlimited number of insurance scenarios you can come up with.
Yes.
That would require deep discussions over that you guys would have the answers for. So the best bet, again, if you're shopping for insurance, you need some. You've taken a look at your policy lately, or you got that letter in the mail and you said, "Whoa, I don't think so."
Right.
It's time to shop around. Definitely, you guys are the team to do it.
Absolutely.
That's what we did, and you got our policy prices down
Yep.
cheaper than what they were that I was already paying before they were hiked up 45%. So
That's
I'm
right.
back below. Now, it may not be that sweet for next year. I understand that just because the market and how things move, but you can
Right.
always shop around and move things around.
That's right. That's
right.
right.
That's why we
Absolutely.
do it.
Absolutely.
So,
Well,
all
thank
right.
you.
Hey,
Thank you
again.
for your time.
Thank you for your
Thanks,
time this
guys.
morning. All right, guys. Well, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Another good one.
Yeah. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
So this is
Okay.
Yeah, this is
I
what
learned a lot.
my brain is still going, so I'm like, I didn't know that, and I got to start thinking about stuff I just learned and
Yes.
heard. So excited about this interview. That was a really popular one.